Before we begin, I'd like to give you a quick tip. If you need to change the zoom of the watch face area, just press and hold the Control key on your keyboard and scroll the mouse wheel to zoom in or out. The Watch Face Studio offers us three basic shapes: the rectangle, the ellipses, and the rounded rectangle. To add a rectangle, click on Add Component up here, then go to Shape and click on Rectangle, and done. To change the size of the shape, you can click and drag the squares around it. In case you wish to rotate it, you can use this square up here. Just click and drag. You can see the rectangle rotates around its center, more specifically around this point here, the pivot of this shape. The pivot point indicates the location around which a shape will rotate. For example, if I place the pivot down here, the shape will now rotate around this point, like this. All of these settings can also be changed using the right sidebar. For example, you can set the width to exactly 200 pixels and the height to 130 pixels. But it does not keep the aspect ratio. In other words, the width and the height does not stay proportional as I change its value. To force the shape to maintain its aspect ratio, you have to click on this lock icon here. Done. Now it will maintain its aspect ratio when I change the width or the height. You can also set the specific angle of rotation using the right sidebar, for example, 0 degrees or 45 degrees. Once again, the rotating will happen around the pivot point. In case you wish to set it back to the center of the shape, right-click the shape, then click on Reset Pivot. Now the shape rotates around its center. You can also set the pivot point using coordinates here, and the pivot point does not need to be inside the shape. For example, I'll set the X to 100. Now the pivot is outside the shape. If I try to rotate it, it will now rotate around a point outside its boundaries. There are two more settings we can set to a shape: its outline, also called border, and its color. To add a border to the shape, drag this range input to set the size. But be aware half of the border is inwards and the other half is outwards. You can also set the color of the border. For that, you can either enter the hex color here along with the opacity, or you can click on the square next to the input. This will open the color picker. Inside the color picker, you can set the hue using this range input and the variation of the color using this rectangle up here. Just click and drag. You can also set the color using the hex code or the RGB values. Once you are done, click on OK to set the color. If you open the color picker again, you will see that it added the pink color to the bottom options. It will always save the last 8 colors used in case you need them. It also provides 2 static colors, black and white. To change the color of the shape, click on the square of the Fill menu to open the color picker. In this case, besides the same options we had in the outline picker, you can also change the opacity directly from here. Now let's check out the other shapes. Let's add an ellipse. Go to Add Components, Shape, then click on Ellipse. The ellipse has the same settings the rectangle has. You can change its size, border, fill color, and rotation, and even lock the aspect ratio. Nothing new. The rounded rectangle also has the same settings, but with one extra: the corner radius, which determines how rounded the corners will be. You can set it using the input range, like this. Or you can use this yellow dot around the shape. Another quick tip: imagine you have many components on your watch face. They are close to each other or even over each other, and every time you accidentally move or select the wrong item. To help you with that, you can lock the component in place. For that, go to the left sidebar, select the element you want to lock, do a right-click on it, and then click on Lock. Done. Now the component is locked. You cannot drag or select it anymore. You still can select and drag other components, but not the one you locked. Components locked will have this lock icon on the left sidebar. To unlock it, right-click on the component, then click on Unlock. Now you can select and drag it again. Now let's say we want the user to be able to change the color of the shapes we added. For that, we need to add a theme color palette. To do that, go to the Style tab on the right sidebar. In here you will see the Theme Color Palette group. To add a new palette, simply click on this plus icon, select the main color, then click on OK. Done. you've added a palette. WFS allows you to add up to 30 palettes, and each palette contains 3 color slots. The first slot is the slot 1, the second slot is the slot 2, and the third slot is the slot 3. To change the color of a slot, simply click on it and select the color you wish to set it to. Let's add another palette. Now we have 2 palettes. If you want to switch the order of the palettes, just click and drag it to the new spot. To remove a palette, you can use this minus button here. Okay, but how do we set the color of the shape to be the color of one of the slots of the palette? To do that, first we select the component we want. I'll select the ellipse. If you are in the Style tab, click on the Properties tab to show the settings of the component. Down here in the Fill and Outline groups, you have the Apply Theme Color checkbox. Enabling it means that you want this setting to use the color of the palette slots. To select which slot color you want, you click on this drop-down menu and pick the slot number, 1, 2, or 3. Let's try to do the same for the rounded rectangle. You can see that the color changed, but it didn't change to the color we wanted to, even though we set the palette theme. It happens because the WFF actually tints the color of the shape by using the multiply blending mode. It means, in short, that the color of the shape will interfere with the color of the palette. To fix it, you just need to set the color of the component to white. When white is multiplied by a color, the result is the color you multiplied it by. You can also set the palette to the border of the shape. The process is exactly the same, but inside the outline group. To test out another palette, simply click on the palette you wish here on the side. Unfortunately, WFS does not offer us a way of importing a color palette. Every time you create a new project, you have to add color by color. If you want to use the same palette on more than one project without having to repeat the whole process of adding the colors to each one, you can create a base project. You create a new empty project, add your palette to it, and save it. Every time you wish to create a new project using that palette, you simply duplicate the base file. Let me show you how. I'll create a new project, and I'll name it Palette 1 or any other name. Inside this project, I'll add some colors, as I already taught you. When I close the project, it will ask me if I want to save it. Click on OK. Now open Watch Studio again. Let's say you want to create a new watch face with that palette. This time, instead of clicking on New Project, you will click on the 3-dot icon from the palette project and select the option Duplicate. On the new project created, you will also click on its 3 dots icon. This time click on Rename and type the name of the new project. Press Enter to set it. Now click on the project to open it, and done. There it is, your palette. Instead of filling the shapes with a flat color, we can add a gradient background to it. For that, select the shape you want to have a gradient and open the color picker from the fill group. Inside the color picker, you will find the gradient options. The first option is the flat color, which is already set. The second option is the linear gradient. It will generate a gradient in one direction. You can find the colors of the gradient here. Each circle represents one color. To change one color, click on the circle to select it, then set the new color using the color picker. To add more colors, click on the range input to add another circle, then set the color for it. The position of the circle inside this range represents the position of the color inside the gradient boundaries. You can click and drag it to change the position. You can also click and drag the color indicator in the gradient line. The first and the last indicators limit the boundary of the gradient. Different from the other indicators, you can click and drag those two indicators to change the orientation of the linear gradient. You can also move them in order to change the gradient boundaries, like this. The third option is a radial gradient. It will generate a gradient that expands evenly from a central origin point. Just like the linear gradient, You can move the position of the color inside the boundaries, add a new color, make it transparent, and change the origin point and the boundary size. The fourth and last option is the sweep gradient. This one generates a linear gradient that rotates around a central point between two angles. Once again, just like the previous one, you can change the color, add a new point, and use the indicator inside the gradient line. The only difference in this one is that you can set the start and end angles using these circles here. The first circle determines the ending angle, and the second circle the starting angle. I might have forgotten to record one topic, so I created another project here just to explain. In case you wish to remove a color, just click on the indicator and press the key Delete on your keyboard. In case you are having trouble deleting a color, try deleting the last color first. You can delete color points from all kinds of gradients. Just remember that at least 2 points are the minimum required. And one last thing, unfortunately WFS Studio does not allow us to use the colors from the palettes in the gradients. The more complex your watch face gets, the more components you will have. To help keep things organized, and even to help on some logics, WFS Studio allows us to group components. To create a group, first you need to select the components. You can do that by pressing and holding the Control key on the keyboard and clicking on the components you wish to select. Then on any of the selected components, do a right-click with your mouse, then select the option group and done. You can now see the boundary of the group you just created. In case you change the settings of the group, the components will automatically have the effect applied too. For example, if you resize the group, all the components will resize according to the new size. If you lock the aspect ratio of the group and then try to change the size of it, all components will respect the aspect ratio setting. You can even tint the group. Just remember, these settings apply to the group, not to individual components. If you select the square instead of the group, it will follow the square settings, not the group settings. To check what components this group is made of, you can click on this arrow to expand the group. Now we know that this group is composed of 2 rectangles. To help with organizing, let's change the name of the group by right-clicking on it, then clicking on Rename. Let's call it Rectangles. Once you finish typing the name, press Enter to set it. But what if you want to add more components to this group? For example, let's say we've added a third rectangle after creating the group, like this. Simply just click and drag the new component to the group folder, like this. You can also change the order of the components inside a group by clicking and dragging it. Toggle its visibility. Lock the entire group. And even create a group inside the group, the same way we did before. WFS Studio also allows you to add color tags, called Layer Color, to the components and groups. For example, let's add a color to the group Rectangle. Right-click on the group folder, then go to Layer Color, and select the color you want to add, and done. The group now will have a color. You can do the same to inner groups and individual components. Just follow the same process, right-click, Layer Color, and then select the color. To remove a component from a group, just click and drag it outside the group folder, like this. You can also ungroup the components by right-clicking on the group folder and then clicking on Ungroup